So don't worry, but I'm going to talk to you about Brexit. Now, there is a Betfair trading market on Brexit, but that's primarily not what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk to you about some thought processes that will aid your trading or your approach to trading and how they apply to the Brexit debate. If you're interested in learning to trade on Betfair or to improve your Betfair trading, then you've arrived at the right place. Head on over to our website where you can find the best Betfair trading form available, packed full of illustrations, examples and downloadable files. Head on over to the Academy where you can take a very detailed and structured Betfair trading course, or visit BetAngel TV where there are over 210 hours of Betfair trading videos. Visit the website also to get a free trial of BetAngel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be notified of when new videos are released. So yeah, Brexit. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, but there's obviously a lot of chatter about it, and it has been for a number of years, and there will be for many years to come. But the interesting thing about the debate and the whole process for me is the way that it's been approached, because over many years what I've figured out is that one of the flaws in the way that the world seems to work is that people want a decisive decision. People want a yes or a no, an in or an out in this case, and variants thereof. But especially in politics, you know, if you give a wishy-washy answer or a halfway house, you're considered to be weak and not a leader. But this is actually a classic flaw with the way that people think. Interestingly enough, actually, Danny Kahneman predicted Brexit and a few other things using some of the work that he's done previously. And so I would always recommend reading Daniel Kahneman or Amos Tversky's work in behavioral economics, because it will give you a deep understanding to the way that people, an optimal decision should be made and the way that people actually make their decisions. And you tend to see this very frequently in politics. Why? Because politics appeals to emotion. And when you look at the way that you think, you have your brain in conflict all of the time. You have the emotional side trying to make decisions quickly and making snap judgments, and then you have your rational side that takes a bit longer, and the two basically battle each other all the time. And that's what makes us human. We have evolved to develop this ability to rationalize and think things through and create tools and all those wonderful things, but we're still somewhat at odds with the way that we function on a day-to-day basis. Now, the reason for this is if you had to think about everything that you did, nothing would ever get done. So you need your quick thinking brain to be able to make a decision quickly, but the problem is it fools you into making irrational choices, which is something that you don't want to do when you're actively trading. So I'd say one of the hardest things to do when you first start trading or through your trading journey is to make really good quality decisions. And that is because of this conflict that goes on inside your head. So what does this have to do with Brexit? Well, you know, if you look at Brexit from a broad basis, you're making a yes-no decision. But the fact is that that is almost impossible to make, because there are many things that are positive and negative about the process and about Brexit and about the impact that it will have on everybody's life. I can give you a really quick example here. I worked for a German company serving customers across the whole of Europe, but I was based in the UK. However, because of my right to free travel and my ability to work wherever I chose without having to apply for a visa or become a citizen of that country, it meant that I could work right across Europe, north, south, east and west, as a citizen of Europe. So that was really liberating for me. When I was young, when you used to travel to Europe, you used to get your passport stamped. But the removal of those barriers meant that I could do whatever I want, wherever I wanted. And what happened with the company that I was working for is it tended to attract people that were very good for that job to be able to do that job. And we could travel and work wherever we wanted within Europe. So that was, you know, a huge benefit. I could just hop on a plane, go and live somewhere for as long as I liked, and work on a project there, and then go to another country if I wanted to. I was looking after a big customer in the UK, and they decided to expand to Europe, so they asked me if I could help them in local territories, which could have been Scandinavia, Italy, France. It could have been Greece, where it was one of their locations. So I'd very often work with them, with my company, to achieve projects in individual countries. And I could do that completely unencumbered. So, that was a massive positive for me for being in the European Union. And on the downside, if you look at the business that I'm now in, which is sort of gambling related, I'm unable to pursue that business within Europe. So when Betfair first started, they were available in all territories, and one by one they've all been pushed out through legislation, and they operate in a tiny number of territories. I mean, in essence, really, we're just in Ireland and the UK, and that's it really out of all of the 27 European nations. So there are probably exceptions in there, I'm generalising, but you get where I'm coming from. So on one side, I love it, and on the other side I'm thinking, well, what's the point? So you can see even for me, having experienced the positive of it, there are negatives as well. And therefore, my decision cannot be it's absolutely brilliant or it's absolutely terrible. It's going to be a mixture of the two, and that is generally what you'll get. I think the problem with referendums in general is that they are black and white, and the fact is the answer to complex problems almost certainly are not black and white, and that's what you find with trading as well. You cannot have I say you cannot have. There are occasions when something is more or less absolutely guaranteed, but you can never in life and in sport and in trading absolutely guarantee something. So let me contrast that for you. If I go out and cross the road today, if I cross the road at midnight when there's no traffic, I could probably do it blindfolded and get away with it. However, if I do it during the rush hour blindfolded, I'm probably going to get run over, unless if the traffic manages to avoid me. But even if I'm crossing the road at midnight when there's no traffic, something could happen. I could mysteriously, at that precise moment, have a heart attack, and then something runs over me. That's a rather grim picture, isn't it? But maybe a meteorite, that's been circling the universe for 365 million years, at that precise moment just happens to enter the atmosphere at the right angle, at the right speed, to hit me as I'm crossing the road. So whenever you do anything in life, it's going to be a graduation of certainty or uncertainty. And that's what foxes people all of the time. I have covered this in previous videos, but like on the weather, it's great to see them saying there's a 60% chance of rain tomorrow, because that is just what I want. I can make a judgment call on whether I take an umbrella or not and the chance of it raining. But in previous years there used to be this ridiculous situation where people would say, oh, it probably will rain tomorrow, but what chances do they have rain? So you're saying it probably will rain, or the likelihood of rain is more likely, or that there's a 60% chance, and therefore you're saying that it will rain, and so it gets complicated. On the Brexit debate, I mean, when you look at how the decisions are being made in Parliament as well, I can't see how you could ever please everybody with the outcome of it, because whatever the decision and however the process goes, you're going to annoy at least half the population, so that's not a good thing. But then also you're going to have, politicians ultimately, if you look at a trader, then they want to make some money. They want to put some money in the market and get some money back. Politicians want to be in power. That's ultimately what their job is, not necessarily to serve the people. Politicians are people that make promises they can't keep with money that they don't have, is how I would summarise most politicians. And they all have emotional agendas to fulfil, so they try and appeal to voters through emotional means. And it must be frustrating if you're in the civil service to have facts and information in front of you and then see them misportrayed. So the problem is, I think when you get into these debates, they almost inevitably end emotionally, and as we know through decision making, if you make an emotional decision, it's probably the wrong one. So yeah, you're going to have people on one side that didn't want the decision, and then people on the other side are going to be saying, well, we don't go far enough. So I think it's an almost impossible situation for anybody, whoever is in power, to successfully get a deal that pacifies everybody, because in fact probably what you're going to end up with is a policy that satisfies nobody. And when you look at the situation from a broad perspective, if I was trading Brexit from a political viewpoint, you would probably put forward an optimal strategy that would say, well, there's a 65% chance that we're probably going to end up better off over the next 10 years or something. But in the short term, the position may go against us and so on. But of course, if you do that as a leader, you'll be considered weak, ineffective, all of those things. But in fact, that's where a lot of things go wrong, is that policies are not created and defined by their payoff. So, maybe we should have a load of traders in power. Then again, maybe not. But can you see where I'm going here? When you trade, you have no definable payoff. It's not a case of I'm doing this trade because I know I'm going to make money, or I'm not doing this trade because I'm going to lose money. It's going to be a graduation of payoffs. That's how I see the market. There was a market the other day where the setup was almost perfect. Everything had lined up perfectly. I felt I knew what way the price was going to go, and then the horse starts playing up and suddenly the trade is destroyed. So you also need the ability to be able to change your mind swiftly when you realize that things are going wrong. So the problem that you have with trading in general, and one of the biggest barriers that we'll have to overcome, is that level of uncertainty. When you first experience that level of uncertainty, you put a trade in the market and think, oh, I like the idea of this. Oh, no, actually it's going wrong. No, in fact it's going right. No, it's going wrong. It becomes very difficult to cope with. But over time, you'll begin to get more confidence in what you're doing. But it takes time and experience to be able to do that. This is the thing that most people struggle with when trading. If you go into the market, you will never have a definitive payoff. The biggest mistakes that most people make, and that are red flags for me, is when you see a string of profits and no losses in the market, because that tells me that you're not trading effectively. The only way to trade effectively is you push your trading to the level where there's a little bit of uncertainty, but you accept that over the long term you're likely to pay off. All of the best trading systems that I've found have been ones that are generally counterintuitive, ones that don't have high win rates, or ones that are contrary to precisely what's going on to the market at that particular moment in time. So yeah, every trading decision you make is not a yes or a no. It's a graduation. It's like, well, this market looks like I don't think it has much chance of achieving this, and therefore I'm not going to do it. Or this has a good chance, but I've got to accept the fact that this could go wrong. It's not the fact that it goes wrong that you should denigrate yourself or think that you're not a good trader. It's more about what occurs over the long term. As long as you keep making roughly the right decisions, then you'll do fine over the long term. But the problem is, as Brexit has shown, making a black and white decision and forcing people down that route tends to lead to bad decisions.